signature, but he does give us a lot of pens. I'll keep one for myself.
Last year, the House of Representatives rushed through the least thorough and most unfair impeachment inquiry in American history. They took just 12 weeks. 12 weeks. There was more than a year of hearings before the impeachment of President Nixon. There were multiple years of investigation for President Clinton. When people are serious about compiling evidence and proving a case, these things take time. That's not what happened this time. House Democrats performed a pale imitation of a real inquiry. They did not pursue their own subpoenas through the courts. They declined to litigate potential questions of privilege. They pulled the plug as soon as Speaker Pelosi realized she had enough Democrat votes to achieve a political outcome. So, Mr. President, this isn't really about Ukraine policy or military assistance money. It can't be, because for one thing, prominent Democrats were promising to impeach President Trump years before those events even happened. The day this president was inaugurated, the Washington Post said the campaign to impeach President Trump has begun. That was the day he was inaugurated in the Washington Post. More than 2 years ago, Congressman Jerry Nadler was campaigning to be the top Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee, specifically because he was an impeachment expert. And just a few weeks ago, when a reporter asked Speaker Pelosi why the Democrats were in such a hurry, here was her response: speed? It's been going on for 22 months, 2.5 years, actually. Now that's really interesting, really interesting. The events over which the Democrats want to impeach happened just 6 months ago. Just 6 months ago, not 2.5 years ago. So how has impeachment been underway for 2.5 years? The Speaker tried to say she was referring to the Mueller investigation, except the House couldn't impeach on the Mueller investigation because the facts let them down. Remember? The House impeached over events in Ukraine, events that happened only 6 months ago. But they still admit this was years in the making. It was not, Mr. President, some earnest fact-finding mission that brought us to where we are. This is not about the nuances of foreign assistance to Eastern Europe. This has been naked partisanship all along. Naked partisanship all along. If that weren't already obvious, our colleague, the Senate Democratic leader, helpfully removed any shred of doubt just this past weekend. Here's what he said. He told reporters that as long as he can try to use the trial to hurt some Republican senators' re-election chances, then whatever happens, quote, is a win-win. That's the Democratic leader. This is a stunning statement. Presidential impeachment may be the gravest process our Constitution contemplates. It undoes the people's decision in a national election. Going about it in this subjective, unfair, and rushed way is corrosive to our institutions. It hurts national unity, and it virtually guarantees that future houses of either party will feel free to impeach any future president because they don't like him. You don't like him, impeach him. That's the message coming out of this. But as long as our colleague, the Democratic leader, can weaponize this process in the next election, he thinks it's a win-win. That really says it all, doesn't it? That really sums it up. This partisanship led House Democrats to cross a Rubicon that every other House of Representatives had avoided for 230 years. They passed the first presidential impeachment that does not even allege an actual crime under our laws. We had a 230-year tradition of rejecting purely political impeachments, and it died last month in this House of Representatives. So, Speaker Pelosi and the House have taken our nation down a dangerous road. If the Senate blesses this unprecedented and dangerous House process by agreeing that an incomplete case and a subjective basis are enough to impeach a president, we will almost guarantee the impeachment of every future president of either party when the House doesn't like that person. This grave process of last constitutional resort will be watered down into the kind of anti-democratic recall measure that the Founding Fathers explicitly did not want. The Senate was designed to stabilize our institutions, to break partisan fevers, to stop short-term passions from destroying our long-term future. House Democrats may have descended into pure factionalism, but the United States Senate must not. This is the only body that can consider all factors presented by the House, decide what has or has not been proven, and choose what outcome best serves the nation. This, Mr. President, is what we must do. So, for the information of all senators, with the House signaling that they will move forward later today, members can expect to receive further guidance about the logistics and practicalities of the next several session days in short order. Now, Mr. President, on an entirely different matter, before the Senate shifts into the trial, we hope to complete an enormous accomplishment for this administration and, most importantly, for American families. It's now been more than a year since President Trump hammered out the USMCA with the governments of Mexico and of Canada. These two neighbors buy more than $500 billion in American goods and services every single year. They buy nearly 30% of all the food and agricultural products we export to the entire world. And for 90% of our manufacturing sectors, Mexico or Canada rank as the number one or number two export destination. Over the past quarter of a century, 12 million U.S. jobs have come to depend on trade with Mexico and Canada. That includes many livelihoods in my home state of Kentucky, from agriculture to manufacturing to aerospace and motor vehicles to our signature industries like distilled spirits. That's why workers, families, and small businesses in Kentucky and around the nation have been clamoring to get this deal done for a year now. And in addition to all the American livelihoods that this commerce already supports, experts predict the USMCA will create 176,000 new jobs as well. So on behalf of all these Americans, we were troubled to see Speaker Pelosi slow walk this agreement for the better part of a year. But finally, late last year, the overwhelming bipartisan pressure to move forward made an impact on the House. So we're finally on the threshold of approving this agreement and sending it to President Trump's desk to become law. Our colleagues on the Finance Committee have already approved it by an overwhelming margin. Other committees of jurisdiction are wrapping up their consideration as we speak. And very soon, we hope the Senate will be able to vote on the floor and put this landmark accomplishment right on the President's desk. A major win for Kentucky and for all 50 states, a major win for our country, a major win for the Trump administration, a major win for those of us who are already ready to move past this season of toxic political noise and get back to doing even more of the American people's business.